What's up, everybody? Anthony Cosenza here with the Orange and Black Insider Bengals podcast. And as promised, we kind of have been doing a little bit of the special guests and different fun shows. This one was a little bit, we've been talking about it for a while, but it was a little bit last minute in terms of how I plan it because I'm just sloppy like that, I guess. But we've got a special guest. It is the Iceman, Jeff Trennepohl from Cincinnati Sports with Strawberry Ice, a great show and kind man to our show. He just had John Sheeran on this week. Was John on this week?
My weeks run together. That might have been this week or last week. I don't remember, to be honest. My shows run together sometimes. But yeah, recently John was on the show, so yes.
Well, welcome to the show again, Jeff. Good to have you back on. We might be joined by John. Like I said, last minute, I'm like, oh, hey, John, I forgot to tell you.
Well, that's what I said. When I tweeted out, I said, I know Anthony's going to be on. I said, I don't know if John's coming on or not. So I know it'll be me and AC. So we'll see what happens.
Well, open invite. Hopefully John joins us. We're kind of doing a little impromptu show. Like I said earlier this week, what we're doing, since the combine's a big deal, and obviously there are a lot of eyes on the Bengals and what they're going to be doing to potentially improve their team, mostly through we don't know. We're thinking a lot of it's going to be through the draft. Some of it's going to be through free agency, but we're kind of keeping tabs on all of it, updating you all on what's going on at Indianapolis. Things are kind of normal there. There was an announcement that the NFL is the first league in the U.S. to start pulling back COVID restrictions, COVID testing, all that kind of stuff. So we are moving forward and starting to get in the clear, which is good news there. We like to hear and see that. And cases are very, very far down, and we are very stoked on all of that, as exactly. I'm sure the league is. And that's that. I mean, I don't want to talk a ton of COVID stuff here, Jeff, but I mean, I know that that's a big domino, I think, just in general in the sports landscape and everything in terms of what's going to follow, right? I mean,
exactly.
You would expect when the NFL makes that big of a step forward on this sort of thing that other leagues, other entities will probably start doing the same.
Right, exactly. I mean, they were talking about the combine a couple weeks ago, making it a bubble, which to me never made any sense because we just went through a whole football season and none of them were a bubble, which I'm glad they're not doing that because I got tickets. I'm going to go Sunday and check out some of the combines. It'll be the first time I've ever gotten to go to the combine, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to normal. You know, I'll go back up on the bridge and watch the Bengals, hopefully in OTAs, but OTAs are usually inside the stadium. But at least for training camp, I'm going to be back on that bridge watching again.
Your bridge crew, right?
Yeah.
Weren't you the bridge crew? That's right.
Yeah,
well,
Bengals bridge crew.
That's right. As if our listeners don't already know about your great show, would you tell everybody real quick about what you're doing and all of that in case for some reason they're dummies and aren't subscribing to your channel, aren't listening to what you're doing, because you have a lot of great guests. You do it. We try and do stuff daily here. It doesn't always work out that way. You do dedicate your show daily and do an awesome job. So tell us a little bit about your show.
Well, I appreciate that, Anthony. Yes, I do it every single day. It's 95 to 99% Bengals at Cincinnati Sports Strawberry Ice. It's on YouTube. It's also, you can follow me on Twitter at Sports with Strawberry Ice, Facebook, Instagram, all that. It's live every day, Monday through Friday at 5:30. If you miss it, obviously it's on YouTube. You can rewatch it anytime you want. Also, I pull the sound off and I put it on a podcast. So it's pretty much wherever you get your podcast, Bean Pod, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play. Like I said, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. So if you missed it live or you don't want to watch it on YouTube, you can listen to it. Because a lot of times your guys' show, especially this is what I was telling John the other night. I said, you guys do a 8:30 Wednesday night show, and I got to go to bed because I have to be at work, at like 3 a.m. or whatever. So a lot of times I'll listen to your guys' show on the podcast on Cincy Jungle. So if you guys can't see mine and you miss it, go check out the podcast.
Well, the YouTube channel, we pinned that link in the live chat. We were stoked to have the Aarons join us last week, Bengals fans. And thanks. And so we're kind of doing a little bit of the same thing with Ice, and obviously he's got a great show and just kind of talking with fans and content creators and all kinds of things. And it's been a little while since Ice has been on our show, and he's been generous to both John and I. So we're stoked to have you back on, man. If you guys have some questions, we'll kind of be doing some listener questions, but we're going to kind of also update you on some things going on with the combine, some things going on with the Bengals, different headlines, sound bites, things of that nature that keep coming out of Indianapolis. I'm at a loss a little bit as to where to start today, Jeff, but Go for it. Go
Well,
for
for
it.
me, I watched Combine last night, and I know it's Bengals, but I'm a Cincinnati guy, so I'm a Bearcat fan. To watch Desmond Ritter and Alec Pierce
Mhm.
perform as well as they did last night got me stoked. I mean, Desmond Ritter, I think, ran the fastest 40 out of all the quarterbacks. They put him up against Patrick Mahomes and a couple other guys. I can't remember Patrick Mahomes the one I always remember because he was all the way in the back. But he was the fastest one out there. Alec Pierce, I think, set the record or for the best vertical leap. So as far as Bearcats goes, they're setting the bar up high. We got Sauce Gardner tonight, so I'm excited. I can't wait to see it. Malik Willis looked really good last night throwing the ball as
Yep.
well. He looked very good.
Yep. And let's kind of start there because I mean, obviously that's kind of it is who it is who's worked out so far. And
Right.
we're taking the air shortly before I believe the offensive linemen take the field today.
Yep, the big uglies
but
run at 4:00.
That's right. That's right. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll probably be on the air as some of that stuff goes on here, and we'll update you on that. But a lot of the wide receivers ran very, very well. It seems like every single year these guys get faster and faster. And then, of course, like you said, the quarterbacks come into play. Now, this is on NFL.com, and I want to ask you this question here and get your thoughts on this. I mean, these are some of the winners by Chad Ryder from NFL.com. Sky Moore out of Western Michigan. Man, Olave ran awesome yesterday. Okonkwo, hopefully I'm saying that name, the Maryland tight end, ran very, very well. Kind of a Vernon Davis light type of guy, same school, and kind of a smaller guy for a tight end, but very, very athletic. And then you've just got more and more wide receivers, and of course Malik Willis. So where I'm going with this is, obviously, we have yet to see where free agency plays out, and everybody in their mother is thinking that the Bengals are going to go offensive line, maybe edge rusher first pick or early and often. Do you think that maybe if some of these wide receivers fall, Auden Tate's a free agent, there's some other guys in there free agents, maybe even one of these top quarterbacks, if they somehow are there in round 3, maybe round 4, unlikely, not a Malik Willis, but maybe these teams aren't as enamored with some of these top quarterbacks as other teams or other people suspect. Might that be, in your estimation, a sneaky pick for the Bengals in terms of a position?
To pick a quarterback instead of a cornerback, that's what you're saying?
Well, a backup quarterback, another wide receiver. If you're talking maybe late day 2, if there's a top prospect out there still floating out there in the 3rd round, at the end of the 3rd round, or potentially early day 3, might that be an option?
3rd round, I could definitely see them taking a wide receiver. And that's one thing that they're saying last night I think the wide receivers all of them set the fastest records as a group ever in the combine last night. So you're going to get a guy with speed. I mean, one of the guys, at first they thought he broke John Ross's combine record, but after it became official, he didn't. It was close. But yeah, with all these wide receivers, absolutely, I could see the Bengals picking one up in 3rd, 4th. Hell, you might be able to get one in the 5th round, as many as there is out there right now. So yeah, absolutely, I think, because it is something that the Bengals have to consider, with Auden Tate most likely not going to be re-signed, and you do need a 4th wide receiver, because let's be honest, Anthony. The Bengals were extremely healthy this year. And that's one of the things I keep prefacing on my show is we need to get better at depth in different positions, offensive line, cornerbacks, secondary, wide receivers, stuff like that. So yes, if they're there, and there's a very good chance someone could be there, I think they will take a flyer on one of them. A quarterback, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are against Brandon Allen. I'm not against him, but I mean, I'm not like, yeah, we have to keep him. I mean, if there's a guy there to upgrade, sure. I mean, they could do it, because that's where, if the Bengals do what we all think they're going to do and upgrade the offensive line and free agency, then that just puts the draft as drafting the best players available. And honestly, I think the best player available needs to be a more of a defensive heavy draft, because the last couple of years they spent all this money on the defense, free agents and all that stuff, which is great, but we're not going to be able to keep all of them for the next couple of years. They all got 2-3 year contracts. We need some people behind them ready to step in and take their spot. And like I said, I started this long rant here. We were extremely healthy last year. The likelihood of the Bengals being as healthy as they were this year, again next year, the odds aren't very good. So you got to have depth so they can plug and play guys for however long somebody gets injured for. So that's kind of a long-winded answer about the.
No, I like it. And for the record, I'm not saying day 2 the Bengals need to pick a quarterback prospect that's out there necessarily. I'm saying if one of these guys, a Desmond Ritter. Hey, buddy. My son's coming in and saying hi. Hey, say hi to Jeff.
Hey, buddy, what's up?
My point was that if a quarterback falls in the draft, maybe to the top of day 3, I go back to Washington a decade ago now when they drafted RG3 in the first round and Kirk Cousins in the 4th. Mm-hmm. The Bengals are looking to potentially upgrade a number of different spots. They probably want a talented developmental backup quarterback there. Obviously, Burrow's the guy. That's not the question. It's just, how do you upgrade your team? Who's the best available? All of that. And if one of these talented quarterbacks inexplicably falls to the top of day 3, maybe that's a route they take. I think wide receiver is another route they take because Darren Simmons on Thursday, I think it was, said that basically, they like Trent Taylor, but they're looking at options at punt returner as well. And with these guys who have some speed here, maybe a return man, the kickoff return situation was a bit in flux. Chris Evans showed a lot of different things later in the year, but maybe that's an option for special teams that they look at again, round 3, top of day 3, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, look at it this way. Just the Trent Taylor thing. I mean, they gave Phillips every opportunity to try to be the punt returner, and Trent didn't take over till the last month of the season, I think. So they, just by that aspect alone, I don't think they're completely enamored with Trent Taylor, but they did re-sign him. So he is an option that they could keep as far as the punt return and all that goes on. So that being said, yeah, it could be something that happens. And if there are, which I think there's going to be wide receivers that are going to be out there available to be taken. Like I said, there was, 15 or so last night, and they all ran fast and they all looked extremely quick, and they all could be punt returners. So yes, if they are there, then yes, you could be looking for somebody. And that just goes to to where if they fix the offensive line, they would have the option to be able to draft for depth, draft for another punt returner. And if it creates competition between whoever they draft and Trent Taylor, sign me up for it. I'm all for competition in every spot. I Dave Lapham says, he goes, every year he went to camp, he had to fight for his job. And that's the way I think it should be in every position.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I like about Pete Carroll. It's always compete. And, I think that's a good mantra to have. I want to remind folks that they can get in touch with us, 949-542-6241. You can leave some questions in the live chats, either via the OBI YouTube channel, the Cincy Jungle Facebook page, or a number of other routes. And we'll be monitoring those. We'll also just be kind of talking about what's going on with the Bengals and at the combine. And we've got our buddy Terrell on the line. Jeff calling in. Terrell, sorry to keep you waiting there, buddy. I had an unexpected invasion from my oldest son coming in and hanging out. But what's going on, man?
You all good, man. It's all family over. I actually got my daughter with me on my way driving home. But man, big fan of Strawberry Ice. He already know I met him, man. He probably don't remember me, man. It was one after the I want to say the Ravens game or the Chiefs game when we beat them. And I ran up to him. I told him I was a big fan. But look
cool.
at us, man.
That's
but look at us, USC and UC doing their thing. Mm-hmm. We back on the map.
Yes, sir.
I gotta say, real quick, a good thing about the quarterback situation y'all was talking about. I actually did a live chat with Dave Latham, and I kind of asked him the same thing. And he kind of basically said thing y'all was saying. But my big thing is, though, I've been looking at the combine. I'm liking the Virginia tight end over Sample. That's who I want in the 3rd or 4th. He had a big run, so I'm thinking climbing up. And I hope we get a corner, and I hope we get some line. I want to say who they and God bless.
All right, thanks, Terrell. We'll take you off the air there, but always good to hear from you, my friend. And don't be a stranger.
Exactly. Yeah, I would like.
You too.
I like to say I totally remember who you were, but I'm terrible at names and stuff like that. But I'm glad you came up and said hi. And like I said, anytime anybody ever sees me at the Bengals game, I'm down at 158. Come up and say hi. We can talk football anytime you want, and that's cool with me.
Cincy celeb, strawberry ice. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know about all that now.
Yeah, no, it's a cool. I don't know. I when I was there week one, it's a cool deal where there's the Bengal gym hang out and everybody's hanging out, and
there was a bigger crowd of people around you than me at Bengal gyms. I'm just saying, Anthony. I'm just saying.
No. Well, you look, if you kind of had your way here. I mean, I know free agency has yet to play out. If you're looking at those first two picks, are you just saying, hey, offensive line, no matter what at this point, because free agency has yet to happen, at offensive line, no matter what at 31? Or are you still kind of doing what the Bengals subscribe to in terms of best player available? Maybe that's a corner. I think it's got to be a blend of best player available and need. I think the Bengals just can't, where they are at so many different spots on the roster. I mean, I don't see if there's one of these talented guys, if a Chris Olave falls all the way to the back end of the first round, you don't really need that guy. So it's kind of like, even if you're saying best player available, that's probably not something you would go for if you're the Bengals. But I don't know. I mean, are you dead set offensive line at 31, or is it just kind of, hey?
It's an interesting question because, like I said, I keep saying I'm prefacing everything on what they do in free agency. But as of right now, I would love to get an offensive lineman. But what always scares me with that is I don't want to end up with Billy Price. Say we're dead set on getting, and I'm probably going to mess his name up. Linenbog, I think that's how you say it. Linderbaum. I always mess his name up. We're dead set on getting him at center. And some people say he might drop there. Daniel Jeremiah said that he might, which I would personally be completely shocked if he does. If that guy's there, then absolutely draft him. But if he's not, then do you want to reach for a guy that, you're going to draft a guy that you could have drafted in the second round? That's where I don't want them to do. So I'm not saying you have to draft an offensive lineman no matter what the first round. It's just because, let's be honest, the Bengals have sucked at drafting offensive linemen here lately. So I would prefer them to, unless he's one of the top tier guys, draft the best guy available. And I think there's a good chance that I'm not Wyatt from Georgia, the defensive end. I think there's a good chance. Yeah, I think there's a really good chance that he could be there. And if he's there, sign me up for that. And like I said, I'm prefacing all this on that they're fixing the offensive line in free agency. That's where I think they're going to go. But who knows?
Okay, so there was a question here about let's see, where was the one? Well, I guess we could go here with Vito Scott on Facebook. Jackson Carman will get better. Well, there was and I'll pin this article here on cincyjungle.com. This is a quote from Duke Tobin at the Combine, praising Jonah Williams and has big plans for Jackson Carman. So this is where things get a little muddy, right? You see here that, I mean, obviously there's some talk. Maybe the Bengals make a trade for a left tackle, Laramie Tunsil out there, or whoever may be out there. And then Jonah Williams either gets kicked to right tackle or inside the guard or what have you. And so this is about Jackson Carman. Quote, we think highly of him. He's a young player that's developing. He's got a lot of physical traits. He's got a taste of what the NFL is all about. He provided valuable snaps for us, and we feel like he's on track. To add to that, Jeff, Brian Callahan and Frank Pollock echoed that a little bit, saying basically he showed a lot of maturation in his first year and all of that. So I don't know what their exact designs are for Jackson Carman, and just kind of a subset here. Quote, I think Jonah played pretty well this year. I don't have a problem. Every tackle gets beat, but I know that other players on the offensive line and the other players in the offense. So I've got a topic about Jonah, but talk a little bit about Jackson Carman and where your mindset is at in terms of him being in the mix for a starting position this year based on the struggles from last year.
Well, my mindset is obviously the Bengals needed him to be a plug and play tackle last year, which he wasn't. I do think him and Deontay Smith, I want to wrap them both up into this, they can make and will make a huge jump from year 1 to year 2. I don't think the Bengals can bank on that is the thing, because we did it last year and it didn't work. So that's where, but as you know, and I know, the Bengals don't spend money on guards. They just don't. And that's why I've been getting killed for this, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to happen. They spend money on centers. They spend money on tackles. And they spend money on Ryan Jensen, the center, and you kick Trey Hopkins to guard, which I know everybody's like, oh, he was terrible at guard. I was like, everybody on that offensive line was terrible. Like, Hopkins was the best one. And people are like, you don't move a terrible guard to center. He was okay at guard. He was okay at center. Put him back at guard, he's okay. That leaves, to my mind, the other spot that you can let them battle it out. And maybe you bring Quentin Spain back too, and let all three of them battle it out for that other guard spot. And that is with getting another left or right tackle too in there as well. So that I am not against Jax Carman. I think Jax Carman and Deontay Smith can both be our future left or right tackles, or not tackle, I mean guards. That's where I think that the Bengals see them as. But they did not show enough in my mind this year to go, yeah, we're going to let them definitely both of them be in, or one of them be in. You know, and what I just said, I know I'm saying that one of them could be in. But that's what I'm saying, pick up Spain again, too, and let them fight for the jobs. It's kind of where I'm at.
So here's the other thing that okay, with the Jonah quote, right? They like where Jonah's at. I think they admit there's some bumps in the road there a little bit. And the other aspect of it, we all know this now, that Jonah Williams, and one of the things that we were concerned about was that trademark short arms as a tackle. Right. He had the short arms coming out of the draft, and that was a concern. I think it's shown up at times. I think it's been masked at other times. And I think for the critical year 3, Jonah took some steps forward, maybe not as big of the leaps as you would like, but some steps were taken forward. Right. The thing with Linderbaum as well, that just came out today with the measurements and all of that, he has very short arms, and he is pigeonholed at just a center. So are you worried about that? And do you find the value? Because now he's a guy that was kind of viewed as potentially a generational center type of player, right? And so now you look at it and you go, okay, the measurables aren't really there in terms of arm length. He was already small kind of to begin with, and he was a center only, never played guard. Is that, and now we're at the conversation as, is that even a number 31 pick at this point for some folks? So I guess, you know, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, or if you had heard about that with Linderbaum today.
I had
that concerned you.
Yeah, I had not heard about that about Linderbaum. But Jonah, his short arms, he hasn't been the generational left tackle that we have needed him to be. So, and I know Dave Lapham has actually talked about possibly moving Jonah into center, which, to me, Dave Lapham played every position on the offensive line, started at least one game at every position, so it's easy for him. Not everybody can do that. I'm okay with moving Jonah from left to right. I think with the short arms, it might be better for him to go to the right side and get get Joe's blind side better protected. Armstead or you know, Orlando. I'm just throwing names out there. Get somebody out at the left tackle. Now with Linenbaugh, if he does have the short arms, there's a very good chance that he could drop 231. And I guess at center, I don't know enough about offensive line physicality or whatever. Is short arms that big of a deal as a center? I know it is as
not as big. Tackle. No.
Yeah. So that's where I'm kind of like, well, if he's there, I'm still taking him, I think. I mean, because he could be I'm not going to say a franchise center, but that's what he was slotted as right now. As a center, yeah, I'm still taking him there. But like you said, he will only be a center. He won't be a guard. So that's where you have to take into consideration there. But I know I kind of jumped around there. And one other thing I'll put too is Frank Pollock put it out there too, as well, is it's not crazy talk, as he said, of moving Jonah. So they are of the thinking that Jonah Williams could possibly get kicked in to guard or kicked over to the right side. And that's where I think I keep banging this drum. Trey Hopkins can get kicked over to guard too. If they're willing to move Jonah Williams, they're willing to move anybody. And that's where I think they're at. I think all the jobs are open. So I personally, if Linenbaugh is still there, I'm still taking him.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of in agreement. Again, it depends on how free agency plays out, what they end up doing.
Right.
But we do have another call. Good friend of the show, Charles Sims. I know we've seen him in some of the live chats and whatnot. Joining us. What's going on?
Nothing much. Just getting off the high ride of the Super Bowl appearance. We know we lost, a little short. But we know what our weaknesses is, and we know what we need to fix. It's not as many as it was the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if we can fix these weaknesses, I think we can win it all next year.
Absolutely.
But my question is, the Zim's who they approach was saying we buy O-line and draft defense.
Yep.
You think that could lead us to another Super Bowl appearance, or you think we need to add more O-line to develop in the draft? So I feel like Carmen can develop as a left guard, because when he played there, he wasn't bad. I feel like he had some flashes. I just feel like he just needs more time to develop to be a better guard right now. Just let him sit a couple more years and let him start the third year or fourth year.
That's a good question, and we'll take that off the air. Thanks for being patient and for calling back, Charles. And we appreciate your support, my man. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. So really good question there, and a really good point brought up by him. Jackson Carman, I believe it was our buddy Andrew over at PFF who does a lot of good research there. I believe he put together.
I'm loving what he's been saying lately.
He's one of my favorite Twitter guys.
I'm trying to get him on the show, but anyway.
He put out, I think, kind of the scores of Jackson Carman at the different positions that he played, and his best scores were at left guard. So Charles brings up a really good point there. And of course, he didn't really get the opportunity there because they had some form of steadiness in the form of Quentin Spain at left guard, and they tried him out at right guard. Here's the deal. I think the Bengals are going to go somewhat to pretty heavy in free agency at the offensive line, whether that's a Connor Williams, whether that's a Jensen and a Connor Williams,
Trent Brown,
a handful of guys. Yeah, any of those guys, or a couple of them. But I do think draft will play a part of it, but they are not going to give up. That's the point of what I was sharing that article, and it's a good point by Charles here calling in. They're not going to give up on the Jackson Carman experiment. Number one, he was coming off of back surgery. Number two, he's a second-round pick. Number three, he was just 21 years old. So they're gonna give him every opportunity to learn, potentially grab a starting spot. So it may be a Connor Williams as your new right guard. It may be someone as a center or a right tackle. Maybe it's Connor Williams. Maybe it's bringing in a Morgan Moses or Trent Brown. And maybe it is drafting Linderbaum should he be there. And then you let Jackson Carman try for that left guard spot. And lost in this conversation, Jeff, another guy that they seem to like is Deontay Smith.
Yep.
And you got to try and give him a shot somewhere as well. So I do not think, I know a lot of people may get a little disenchanted with hearing that Jackson Carman is in the mix or in the plans. He's a second-round pick. Right. He's in his second year. He's very young. They're not going to give up on him. They're going to give him a shot.
He never played guard before. He was a tackle. So that goes to the thing. If you move into left guard, he's at least on the same side of the field that he played at. So I am with you. They're not giving up on Jackson Carman. They're not giving up on Deontay Smith. That's where I keep saying I think they see those guys as one of them being our left or right guard next year. Possibly both of them in 2023 is what I would like them to, or I think they would like to see. And Linebaugh is there. This might be a good thing for the Bengals. If you get Linebaugh at center and you get Connor at right guard, and then we get Trent Brown, just say that's who I've been kind of doing some research on at right tackle, and Jackson Carman or Deontay Smith is at left guard. Sign me up for it. I think that's better than what we had this last year.
Yeah, and I think there'll be probably some more developmental guys in this year's draft in terms of offensive line prospects. They may use that number 31. By the way, said this Wednesday night, if they're going to draft an interior offensive lineman in the first round, where they're picking this year falls right in line with where they like to invest a pick for that. They're not going to pick it up. They're not going to pick a guard or a center at 17. I mean, they did that a couple of years ago with Billy Price, but that was with a pick swap. And
that was because the guy they wanted
desperation.
Right. And that's what I don't want this year.
Right. They just, and normally that 31 spot, I mean, you look, I mentioned it Wednesday, you go back to that 2012 draft. They had DeCastro and Zeitler sitting there when they were in the early 20s. They moved back it picked Kevin Zeitler in that one.
Yep.
Eric Steinbach, a very good guard for this team for a handful of years. First pick in the second round. I mean, so number 31 right now is kind of wheelhouse for where the Bengals like to potentially, if they are to use a high pick, that's where they would use one on an interior offensive lineman, I would think. But to your point, I do think that it's free agency, couple of developmental guys, and see what you got out of Smith and Carmen, because they seem to like both of those guys.
Yeah. I want to circle back to another thing that Charles said. He talked about Zim Hude bringing up, and we talked about Andrew, who's talked about this too, being draft heavy defense wise. I think they're going to be. I mean, again, I preface this, always depends on what they're doing on offensive line. But if Linebaugh or a good offensive lineman is there, they're taking that guy at 31. If there's a good offensive lineman, they're taking an offensive lineman at 31. But the rest of the draft could be 90% defense, because, like I said, we got to get better at that. And we got to get deeper in certain spots, especially secondary. And I don't want anybody to sleep with this. And I'm not against Eli Apple. I like Eli Apple. I want Eli Apple as my number 4. I don't want him as my 2.
Where it was originally designed, right? That's
exactly.
where it was originally designed.
I've gotten so many arguments about this. You want him back at 2? No, I didn't want him at 2 last year, but
right.
I want him at 4. So if you can get like Kobe Bryant or Pete, I'm saying his name, Petrie from Baylor. If you get one of those guys in a second or third round, sign me up for that. I think Kobe Bryant could be is going to be a very good cornerback in this league. And the way Lou designs the offense, you don't necessarily need a shutdown corner. It's all by zone, and the way they run the offense. I think Kobe Bryant would fit in well with that.
So speaking of fits and potential players, targets, etc., Dennis Fradel in the live YouTube chat asked, would you guys draft Jordan Davis at 31? And could he play next to DJ Reader? Well, if you know anything about the Cincinnati Bengals, they love them some Georgia defensive players.
Yes,
that is for sure. Now, that was more so in the Marvin Lewis era. I mean, you could go back to Odell Thurman and Geno Atkins, and I mean, the list got David Pollock. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on.
Right.
But Jordan Davis, I don't. He's kind of more the nose. Whereas Wyatt is the guy that's the 3 tech, and the 3 tech is the area where the Bengals need to shore up, because Larry Ogunjobi is a free agent, because BJ Hill is a free agent. I really like Wyatt. I mean, Jordan Davis is a beast, and he's a big dude. He's like 6'6", 340. I mean, just a mammoth of a
monster.
Dude. And you like that in the AFC North. You like that, going, if you're for depth. I mean, you're looking at potential issues with Tupou and all that kind of stuff. So you like that, but I mean, to me, I think you look, especially because I don't think the Bengals are able to keep both Hill and Ogunjobi as well as sign about. I mean, they probably could, but
they
it
still
would
got
be
Tupou.
A stretch.
I know Tupou's not a 3 tech, but you still got to try to bring. That's 3 guys. Hopefully they'll bring at least 2 of them back. And I think I brought this up when John was on my show. That I think it's going to be kind of like when Jordan why do I always forget his name? 96 for the Bengals, and we just let him go last year. I can't forget his name. The defense, the edge rusher.
Dunlap?
Yeah, Dunlap. I don't know why I have a brain cramp when it comes to his name. But when Jordan and Dunlap were free agents, they had made an offer, and the first one to take it got the offer. The other one they let go. I got a feeling they might do the same thing with Larry Ogunjobi and BJ Hill. They try to offer them the same thing and see which one takes it first, and the other one they let go. Maybe.
Yeah. I oddly enough, I would love to have both of them back.
Oh, absolutely.
I think most people are leaning towards BJ Hill as the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I might be leaning the opposite.
Really?
I don't know.
Well,
I think
Larry
if I had to choose one, it's very, very close for me.
Right. No, it's close. Yeah. Larry, I think has a better potential size-wise and how he can impact the game than BJ does. He's just not as consistent. And BJ Hill, we saw him when Larry got hurt, how consistent and how impactful he was. That kind of opened my eyes to, okay, this guy's a little more, has maybe a better motor or whatever. Nothing against Larry. Larry, if you're watching the show, I want you back. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but if you had to pick, it's slightly BJ over Larry, and it's a minuscule about like that.
Yeah, boy, they missed that. I mean, Hill still stepped up and made a number of plays in the postseason, but when Ogunjobi went down and not having both of those guys, man, you felt that in the postseason. And it would be nice if the Bengals are able to recreate something, and that's why I would go with the other Georgia defensive tackle potentially as an option, along with signing one of those other 3 techs. And the whole point there, again, Ice, is the Bengals use free agency for the needs, and they try and use the draft. Duke Tobin has said this a bunch of times. They try and use free agency for the needs, shore up the really deficient roster areas, and then you try and go in as much as possible into the draft and do best player available. Obviously, the 2020 draft is notwithstanding, because they needed to get a quarterback and a wide receiver, and they, 2 really good ones fell in their lap. But that's where we may see, everybody's screaming offensive line right now, and all of a sudden they may make a couple of acquisitions in just a couple of weeks here where you go, well, maybe that plan changes and you're looking at a defensive line, a cornerback, right?
Right. And one thing I want to say to you, you say they usually use the draft for best player available. Well, remember a couple years ago, I think it was what was the year we drafted? Was that 19? It wasn't Burrows. The year we drafted Logan Wilson and Akeem Davis-Gaither and Marcus Bay. We went heavy out.
That's 20.
That's 20. Okay, we went heavy in linebackers and through the draft because we needed a linebacker, and we went heavy on linebacker, and we went in defense, and then we went heavy on defensive free agency. So we did both of them that year. So so yes, they do use the draft for best player available, but sometimes when it's a gaping hole like our linebackers were a couple years ago, they went all in on linebackers.
Yep. Okay, so now it comes to this one. Anthony Turner brings it up. Falele. Wow, this guy is absolutely. It's probably the biggest offensive lineman I've seen since Orlando Brown Jr. came out a few years ago. I mean, this guy is massive, and a guy that could be one of those right tackles of the future, but when you are that big, there are problems with smaller speed guys. We've seen that before. And in some of the Senior Bowl stuff and different pre-draft workouts, that's been a thing with Falele. I mean, what are you thinking about? I don't know how much you've looked into that guy, but
I'll look him a little bit. I mean, the today on the NFL Today, one of the Andrew Siciliano, if I say his name right. Yeah, you remember the show Game of Thrones? Remember the guy named Mountain? Mountain. That's what he called him, because he's freaking huge. And I saw some of the tape. First time I really saw any tape of him was on the NFL Network, and he's throwing guys around. So, but they also brought up a point that he was in college. He's always bigger and faster and stronger than pretty much anybody he played. That's not going to be the same case in the NFL. And these guys are going to be faster than him. So, am I interested? Heck yeah. Do I take him at 31?
No,
I don't know. I would hesitate, especially if Wyatt is there. That's who I'd like to see. But they have to fix the offensive line and free agency. So that's where I'm like. Yeah.
No. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to end. So that's where I'm saying I'm like I like him, but I'm not going out of my way to go get him. Is what I'm saying.
Well, 384 is what he weighed in at. 384. 384. 384 is what he weighed in at, but. As the workouts are just underway here, we're at 4:15 Eastern. We'll have to see kind of some of the splits when he runs and some of the, the shuttle and all that kind of stuff, because that tells you quite a bit in terms of how he actually can move. One of my favorite accounts this year on Twitter, this time of year rather, on Twitter, is Kent Lee Platt, who does kind of the RAS scores, the relative athletic scores, where you can see kind of that spider web and all that kind of stuff, and it lays out everything. I mean, look at this guy. It is unbelievable. For reference, arm length 35 and an eighth inches. Right. Linderbaum, the center, was literally 4 inches shorter than that with the arm length. That's unbelievable. 384 pounds. It's just a matter of, we know this guy gets his hands on you, you're done. Right?
I mean, he literally took a guy and threw him in the video I saw. I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Right. Modern Combine's heaviest player ever by 15 pounds. And this is on NFL.com. So this is a guy that, he's from Minnesota, obviously, but this is a guy you gotta keep an eye on. He might be one of those guys that hangs around if he doesn't run. I mean, remember Orlando Brown Jr., he had terrible workouts,
Awful.
and he was this big guy, and so he fell.
And the Bengals could have drafted him.
I know, and
We
they did
didn't.
not. And he's one of the better tackles in the league right now.
Right.
Not saying this will or won't be the case with this
Right.
kid, but this is something. This is why we got to watch today to see how this guy moves and runs and all of that, to see if that stuff can match up some way with the size. Because if he can move, if he can show that he can move at that size, that's
huge.
Yeah, that's a lot of clay to mold.
Yeah, that's a lot. And like I said, we'll see what the combines of how he can move and stuff. That's the biggest issue is, can he move, and was he dominant because he played, lesser competition, lesser guys. I mean, it wasn't like he played in the SEC or the American Athletic Conference like the Bearcats. I mean, come on. So that's a little tongue in cheek there. But it will depend on what he can do. And if he does the 40 and it's, out the gym, it's faster than people. I mean, he's not going to run a 4.4 or anything like that. But I mean, if it's a fast 40 and he can move and everything and better than people think he can, that his stock's going to go up just like Lion Bogs went down. Now, one thing you have to look at too is this arm length and size and everything that they're always talking about. Like Jackpot Joey Burrow, remember, he's got small hands.
Right.
And that was kind of a big thing when it came out. Well, how's that worked out? Jonah Williams, he's got short arms. He's been okay. This was Jonah Williams' first full year playing in the NFL. That he didn't get hurt, So
right.
He did okay. He wasn't an all-pro. I think he'll be fine if they leave him at left tackle, even with his short arm. So the measurables, to me, you always have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to look at the tape and go look at what they do in the combine when they're doing these agility drills and stuff. And guys way smarter than me who do this for 20, 30 years, they take all that stuff, they put it together. You have to take it's a mix and match of everything together, and then you got to go look at the tape and what he does there and put that on there. So all that combined, once you put that all together, you got to make your best guess, because when he's this big, it's hard to pass up on him, because they don't make people like this. This is not a normal size human being.
He is not. And I'm looking at the live tracker here on at least 40-yard dash for offensive linemen. It doesn't appear he has run yet. Ike Ekwonu, a guy a lot of people like from NC State, ran a 4.97. I think that's unofficial.
He could have went to Yale. Did you know that?
Yeah, and I didn't. Yeah, really intriguing player though.
Yeah, he got accepted to Yale and decided to go. He wanted to go to NC State instead of Yale, which, I mean, I don't know, which is fine, but you never think of either one of them as football juggernauts. I thought he would have picked, I don't know, something other than NC State, but it worked out for him. So what do I know?
Yeah. So a guy to keep an eye on, Kellen Deich, I think right now he's the top 40-yard dasher. He's an offensive tackle out of Arizona State, ran an unofficial 4.92. So something to note. We'll keep an eye on some of this stuff as we are here. Are you still okay on time ice for a little bit? I know. Yeah, we got Charles who called in. He asked here. I mean, are you doing a show today, Ice? So promote the heck out of that, my friend.
Yeah, we're doing a show today. It's gonna be me and my seat neighbor Dale. He sits right behind me in 158. It's gonna be just a fun football Friday show. Him and Orange Arrow actually have started their own podcast.
Just gonna ask. Yep.
Yeah, it's called Bengals and Brews. So make sure you guys check that out. I think they're doing it on Sunday again. I think they got Willie Lutz coming on soon. I think Malik Reich's gonna be on sometime. So make sure you check those guys out. And so, me and Dale will be on today at 5:30. It's just going to be a fun football Friday. Going to sit there. I'll have the draft on, or not the draft, the combine on my TV so I can watch it, which I wish I would have turned it on now before I started talking to you so I can see what's going on. But I forgot to do that. So, it's going to be fun. So it'll be live today at 5:30 on the YouTube channel Sports with Strawberry Ice. So if you have not subscribed, I'm at over 1,500 subscribers. I'm trying to get to 2,000 by the time the season rolls around. So that's in September. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors about Sports with Strawberry Ice and hit the subscription button.
Yeah, well, you'll far surpass that. I'm confident.
I don't know. I'm not up there with Orange and Black. I mean, Orange and Black Insider Podcast. You guys are rolling, but you also been doing it a lot longer than I have too. So
true.
How long you been would you start in 2015? How long you been doing this?
2016. 2016. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just starting my third year.
Getting some sun glare over here. As always, this time of day in this room that I record, I get some nice, lovely sun glare through this window. So I gotta.
You're in sunny Cali.
Well, it rained earlier, but not so. But the sun's out now, I guess. But we'll see. So we'll be here for a little bit longer. If you want to call or text 949-542-6241, leave a question or comment in one of the live chats we've got going. We've got quite a few listeners across that are tuning in live across a multitude of different platforms. So happy to have all of you with us, and happy to have Ice Man Jeff Trennepohl joining us once again on the show and hanging out, talking some combine and whatnot. Now, here's an interesting one, because this is a position group that I don't think a lot of people are talking about in terms of, hey, this is a big need area. To me, this is the weakest position group. I mean, you could argue offensive line as a unit, but this is one of the weakest groups as it currently sits, with players under contract, not under contract. Tight end.
Yep.
This is a very, very weak group of players without CJ Uzomah there. And even with him, you may want to see some upgrades here. Just wanted to get your thoughts. Obviously, this is from our buddy John Sheeran here, writing this up for Cincy Jungle, relaying the news that an anonymous agent said that a prominent free agent tight end wants to play with Joe Burrow, and it's not Rob Gronkowski, who already came out and said that. It is a different one. I don't know if that means it's Kyle Rudolph, former local kid that was recently released or what have you. But a quote, prominent free agent tight end wants to play with Joe Burrow, and the Joe Burrow effect is happening with free agency just a couple weeks away.
Yeah, we talked about this on my show yesterday. I think it was. It came out yesterday or Wednesday. It came out, and I talked about it. And the same thing when Gronk came out and said that he wants to play for. If he played for anybody, it'd be Joe Burrow. I personally think Gronk's going to retire, but that's, like I said, the Burrow effect. That's going to happen more and more. These are just guys that have came out and said that. They say prominent tight end. Who knows who that is? But getting to your original question is, yes, the tight ends I think needs to be addressed. I think. I don't know about you, John. Anthony. I don't know why I called you John. Anthony. I'm not worried about the Bengals signing CJ. I think they'll sign him. I think he wants to stay here. I think it's going to be a good, fair contract for him and the Bengals. He's not one that I'm pressed that, oh my God, we have to sign him. What I really don't want is I don't want Drew Sample to be our backup tight end again. It would be nice, like I said on my show, is every once in a while the Bengals will do a two tight end set. And 90% of the time they're doing that, they're running the ball. It would be nice to have a chance for the tight ends to have two tight ends to catch the ball. I mean, not that Drew Sample can't catch the ball, but that's not his forte. He's more of a blocking tight end. So, yes, I would like them to address that. And I think they can either in free agency or in the draft, because there are some pretty good tight ends here that we could possibly get in the 4th, 5th, possibly 6th round, maybe, that could be there.
I always wonder now. I mean, I know it's not necessarily a position that Zach Taylor likes to employ or talk about, but I mean, he kind of does it in some ways anyway. Drew Sample is kind of conversion to an H-back, and then you have a little bit more of some dual tight end, like you said, a little bit more of the true tight end threats, receiving threats, whatnot, on the outside there. That would be nice. I don't know if that's in the plans there going forward, but we'll see. Just a little bit of an update. One of the guys that I like for the Bengals, potentially at 31 because of versatility and tape and whatnot, Kenyon Green. He came in. He's got pretty good arm length. He did weigh in at 323, about a couple pounds lighter than I thought he would be, but he is a true guard, probably best as a left guard, but has played 4 positions ice along the offensive line for Texas A&M. Kind of one of those fringe round 1, round 2 type of guys. 6'4", 323 is what he measured in at. 34 and an 1/8-inch arms. That's pretty decent, especially for a guard. Big hands. Did run a 5.29 40-yard dash. He's a little bit down there in terms of speed, but I'd really like to. I don't have the 10-yard split. I'd like to see that. Only 20 on the bench press. I say only 20. I mean, I don't know what I would do these days. Like give the arm, but I kind of expected maybe a little bit more from him, but still, a good prospect. I got to see the cone, the shuttle, and the 10-yard split on that. I didn't see that, but that's just an update on one of the guys that we previewed a couple nights ago on our show.
Well, what I like about him, and you guys have talked about this on your show, is I like the versatility. I mean, he's played, I think, both tackles and both guards, and started at those positions at Texas A&M. So I like the versatility. I think he, again, if he's there, which I don't know if all these guys are going to be there, at 31. And now that's all right. I'll put it to you this way. I just popped my head. What if Linenbach's there, or if Green's there? Which one are you taking at 31? If both of them are there, which one are you taking?
I would look at it, and this is the way I'm answering this question. If I'm looking at it the way the Bengals traditionally view players, the way they traditionally do things, I actually think they would take Green over Lindenbaum potentially, because Green has the experience of playing 4 offensive line positions, starting there in the SEC. And the Bengals, if we know anything about them, and it's for better or for worse, they like versatility a lot on the offensive line, even if it sacrifices them potentially picking the guy, the dude, right? Like the guy who's the dude. They like a player that could be like, hey, you know what? If we have an injury over here, they could be an emergency guy here. They like having that roster flexibility. They like having that versatility out of offensive linemen. So if I'm utilizing the Bengals mindset, I would think that if the decision came down to that, they may go with Green simply because of the versatility. We got to see how the rest of the workouts go and all that kind of stuff. But
I think
that's just my thinking.
No. I think you just changed my mind. I was like, because I'm saying no, Linenbach, because he's the guy. I keep saying his name wrong, because he's the man. But with the short arms coming out, you never know. But to what you just said, they do like versatility. Which, okay, I'm gonna roll that back to free agents, and we talk about Colbert with the guard for the Rams, who has played both guards and center. So that's another reason why as far as we'll go back to free agency, he's a guy that they might be willing to pay more. I know he's a guard, but he can play other positions too. So he might be in line with what the Bengals are thinking, that we could actually pay him more money because he could play other positions than just guard.
It's also why I don't know that Trey Hopkins is going anywhere this year. He has experience starting at guard positions and center. And I know you, we said this before we took the air, that you were catching some hell from people about him being a guard option.
Yeah.
And he did not play very well as a guard at the NFL
None of them
level,
did.
But But the point is he has NFL starts at both of those positions, and the Bengals value that.
Well, and the thing is too, if they don't usually NFL, no matter what the NFL team is, they usually don't take a guy who's awful at one position and moving to another position that's even harder. I mean, I'm sorry, playing center is harder than playing guard. You got the snap count, you got picked up the mic guy, everything that goes on with that before, all the pre-read stuff, even before you even snap the ball, and then you got to snap the ball. That's totally different too,
and block.
So it's way different and way harder than guard. So that's where I'm like, but he's been. I don't care what anybody says last year. Yes, if it kills me when people get on Hopkins, he was injured. He had a torn ACL that he came back and didn't miss a freaking game. So that's where I wish people give Trey a little bit of a break. And personally, I'm okay if he's our center next year and we have somebody behind him that could possibly take over the next year. But the way the offensive line performed and just the way the Bengals are, I see them getting a center, and possibly kicking him over to guard. Just my thoughts. And I don't think they're not going to cut him because he's not that expensive and he can play guard. They already have it. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, you're going on in an hour, so we'll start wrapping this thing up in a minute here. Here's a question from Tony Arnold in our live YouTube chat. I have a little bit of a quick question off script. Obviously, we're talking combine and whatnot, but this is a pertinent question. It's not totally off the wall. Basically saying, do you think Joe Mixon would do better with a halfback in front of him as a lead? I think that's situational. I think that's dependent. My whole thing is get the guy a line.
Right.
If you look back,
exactly.
It's not even the halfback thing. It's just when you look at his second best season, his best season as a pro was this year.
Right.
And Frank Pollock was there. His second best season as a pro was in 2018 when Frank Pollock was there.
Right.
Frank Pollock has the title of run game coordinator. They are committed to getting that run game working on some level. Yes, they like to pass the ball and throw the ball because of who their quarterback is, who their receivers are, but they want to get the ball to Joe Mixon. That is for sure. Look at the lines that he ran behind. He was hurt a lot in 20, so we can scratch that one off the list here. But you look at 2018 and that line he was running off behind. It was like Clint Bowling and who?
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
it was like, Alex Redmond and and then you had the Bobby Hart years, and you had all these and you go
swinging gate Bobby Hart.
Yeah, I mean, if you just get him a capable line now, Mixon he's kind of like Burrow in a way where there'll be a couple of runs where he tries to make something happen, and it's a big net loss, right? I mean, that's just it happens probably once a game, twice a game, and you go, man, just hit the hole, right? But there are other times when he does that, and he's real patient, and he finds the crease, and it's a big play. So imagine with a more capable line, when there are more of those creases, more frequently creases that are open to him, that's going to be the key to him. Not necessarily a halfback, not necessarily the H-back like I mentioned with Sample. I don't know what you think, but to me, it's just kind of an easy solution.
Yeah, I could agree with you more because, I mean, how nice would it be if Mixon can just make his first cut past the offensive line where there's a hole he can run through? I mean, that never happens. And then I'll preface that too as Jack by Joey Burrow. What if Joe could actually get to his third read?
Yep.
This offense, look, we went to the Super Bowl with this, and the offensive line, there were times that it played fairly good. I mean, there were times that it performed fairly well.
That's why he had his best season. Yeah.
Right. When Riley Reef got hurt, that was a big loss. I mean, it was. And Jax Carman they needed Jax Carman to be a plug-and-play guard. He wasn't. I think eventually he will be. Those are the issues that we had with the offensive line. If you get that fixed, because people ask me this during the season, why are we not throwing the ball more? Why is our offense so inconsistent? Why is this? I'm like, because we have an inconsistent offensive line. You don't know what you're getting from snap to snap, let alone game to game. I mean, toward the end of the season, Anthony, Frank Pollock's doing a rotation with Jackson Carman and Akeem Adeniji. And we went to the Super Bowl with that line. That's why I get so excited is if they, or I'm not going to say if, when they fix this offensive line, dude, we're going to be scary. It's going to be what T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon and CJ Zama can do. I can't wait. And that's what I'm like, I can't wait for free agency. Like, I'm just biting. Everybody keeps talking about draft. I'm like, I want to know what's going on in free agency. I am chomping at the bit to find out what they're going to do, because to me, that sets the stage for the whole offseason and the season to come. What they do in the offseason and free agent right now. To me, this could be the biggest free agents offseason the Bengals have ever had. Either they're going to hit a home run like they've done the last couple of years, or it's going to be a bust. One of the two. I'm hoping for the home run.
I think we all are. But I mean, if you think about it, a lot of people are going, well, how good of a job did Frank Pollock do last year? Well, number one, the penalties were cut down drastically as opposed to the years prior. Number two, a lot of the drive killing plays were limited to the sacks and whatnot, but not the holds, not the false starts, not all that stuff, because technique was taught well this year. Joe Mixon had a career year, yes, because he was healthy, but also because of just the play in front of him. And when you look at it and you talk, if people are questioning Frank Pollock out of one side of their mouth, on the other side of the mouth, they're saying, well, Jonah Williams, is he really a left tackle or is he an interior offensive lineman? Trey Hopkins needs to be replaced. I don't know if there's if Quentin Spain is a guy that you want to keep around. What's going on at right guard? What's going on? You're basically talking about upgrading, replacing, moving almost every, fans are talking about every single offensive line spot. Mm-hmm. And yet you had a career year from Joe Mixon. The penalties decreased quite a bit. And the Bengals got to the Super Bowl. Yes, Joe Mixon took way too many hits and sacks. And so you kind of say, well, what did he have to work with? And look what he did with what he had to work with. If you're talking about replacing most or all of these guys.
Right.
But at the same time, the counter argument to that is, well, he had a hand in not really pushing for different players potentially to be brought in. But I still think this was always a multi-year design in terms of fix the defense the first couple of years in free agency in the draft, get your quarterback and wide receivers the next couple of years. And then now it's like, okay, meat and potatoes time, lines, trenches, etc.
Now, one thing I say about that, and I can't remember who said this, it might have been the Locked On guys, but every position coach has had their voice heard and they've listened to them. Last couple of years it's been Lou Anarumo and the defense. Before that it was, and also Zach and Brian Callahan with the offense, getting Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Now this year, I think it's Frank Pollock. And if you listen to what I'm going to promote James's channel again, but James had on since that Bengals talk, he did the video of Frank Pollock. Frank Pollock, he's at the combine. they're in their hotel rooms watching film and all this stuff. Frank's not watching film on the guys at the combine. He's watching film of free agents because he said that's what he'd be doing right now if he wasn't out there talking to them. That tells me they're listening to Frank Pollock, and this is his time to get what he wants. You know, he wanted a year with getting somewhat what he wanted, but not all in. That's where I think they're going to be all in on the offensive line like they were with defense, like they were with offense the last couple of years. I really do think Frank Pollock is going to get what he wants, or at least get close to what he wants. I don't know if he gets exactly what he wants, but close to what he wants.
Yeah, they're going to have to. You have to pay some money. They're going to have to invest and develop. And the other thing is, there's now. I mean, depending on who they do bring in, Ice, they've added a third offensive line coach.
Yes.
So you got Pollock, you have Martin, and you have the new coach coming in here. A lack of development, a lack of getting players in here. The Joe Burrow. I mean, there's not really the excuses are. I mean, I know it's only year 2 of the new Frank Pollock time, but I mean, the excuses would run thin if you have 3 position coaches there and you try and overhaul the line.
Well, this is one thing that Willie Anderson was saying too, that they needed another position coach. I think Willie Anderson wanted to be that guy, which I think would have been a great pick. But either way, they got that guy in there, which the guy they have, his name slips my mind right now, but he's worked with Frank Pollock before with the Jets, so they have a working relationship already. And the thing is, like I said before, they are listening to their coaches more now, I think, than they've ever listened to them in the history of the Bengals, just because of what they've done the past couple of years in free agency and in the draft, of listening to especially Lou Anarumo. Because I mean, I've raised my hand. I thought Lou should have been gone after last year. I called him Armadillo for 2 years. You know, I called it the Armadillo defense. I didn't know what in the world they were trying to do. I was wrong. I'm glad I was wrong. I mean, Lou Anarumo has done a phenomenal job, and he finally got the right guys in the building to do what he wants. And that's where I think Frank Pollock, I think it's his time to get his guys in the building. And because Frank said it's not crazy to talk about moving Jonah. I think that goes for Hopkins too. It's not crazy talk to go out and get. He said he wants athletes. He wants glass eaters. Like I said, he's looking at guys in free agency. So I think something's going to happen. I could see us getting 2, but I think we're going to get one big one. And I think there's a very good chance it's going to be Jensen, because out of Pac-Man Jones, I know people want to go, well, it's Pac-Man. He probably knows more people in the NFL than you and I do combined. So if he's heard something and he's willing to say it, there might be something there. So if you get Jensen and you just say you get Trent Brown at right tackle, and then you have Covert at guard, and then you get Hopkins at the other one, and then you get Carmen and you got Deontay Smith sitting back for another year to develop and take over in 2023. Sign me up for it, dude.
Yep.
And none of those guys are really going to kill you at money either, except for Jensen. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Derek Frazier is the other assistant offensive line coach. And of course, he came from Wyoming, but also coached with Frank Pollock at the Jets. So hopefully that synergy, along with working with Ben Martin again last year, hopefully all that breeds a lot of good stuff going forward. Well, we're over an hour. I know you've got your show coming on deck here, Ice. I appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun, man. I always love chatting with you, whether it's on your show or ours. And, we always have a nice little, I wish this was like over beers or something. You know what I mean?
That's what we have. Have to do that sometime. We'll just have to have a, well, next time you come here, we'll have to definitely get together. Cause I know you wanted to do it after the game, the first game of the year, Minnesota. Dude, I was so wore out. I'm old. I was so wore out. Like, dude, I would drink like one beer and I would have been asleep.
We also, I had my nephew who's awesome, and he had a great time. He's 15, so we can't do just the 21 and over places. We have to go to the family restaurant type of places. Exactly. But I mean, it was awesome having him. But no, I mean, the hope is that I'm coming out to one, if not more, games again next year, and then maybe spending a few more days there just to see a lot of people, maybe do an on-site, get together show, that sort of thing. It'd be fun to do that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens. But once again, before we get out of here, your show, where it's available, where people can follow you, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. It's on YouTube. It's live every day, Monday through Friday. It's going to be starting here at 5:30 today. It's called Sports with Strawberry Ice. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of it under Sports Strawberry Ice. Yes, I'm an old guy, does some silly TikTok videos, which is mostly just talking trash about the other teams. So they're kind of fun. And then the podcast, it's Sports Strawberry Ice on BeanPod, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you guys get your podcast. Make sure you check it out, rate, like, review.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Ice. I appreciate it. We had a lot of fun, and thanks for the folks who chimed in with some questions. But take care and go get your good show set up here with one of your buddies, Dale Altman here.
Yes, sir.
Bengals and Brews.
Absolutely.
Take care,
Good day.
buddy.
Take it easy.
All right, see you, buddy. We're going to get out of here in just a second. Thanks to Ice. He is a great dude, and his show is a lot of fun. So go check it out in just a little bit here. We're going to wrap up our show in 1 minute. I think I saw something that was a little bit of potentially breaking news. I will look for that in just a second. Maybe a rumor mill thing. I could be wrong, but I will check on that. Regardless, in the meantime, you can get this show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all of the other major streamers. We are on all of them. Of course, you can get the show on YouTube at the bottom corner here of the screen, which is right down here. You can click that OBI icon to subscribe, click the bell to be notified when new content is available, when we go live, all of that. We were missing our buddy John today. It was my bad. I let him know a little late. I've had a chaotic week, but it's been a lot of fun regardless. And so at any rate, we missed him, but you can get our show with me, John, and all of that on our YouTube channel. And of course, our show is on the Cincy Jungle podcast channel, where it's on all of the audio streamers. And oh, by the way, you can go get Ace and Zim's show, Orange is the New Black, and Coach Speak and Chalk Talk by Matt Minnick, all part of the Cincy Jungle podcast channel, which is within the SB Nation network of podcasts. Real quick, via Lindsay Patterson, who does great work, formerly of the Inquirer and now with All Bengals. John, she relayed a tweet from John Hendricks, who does Saints News with SI. He says he, quote, keeps hearing the Bengals as the Saints opponent for the London game. And I will share this real quick. This is a biggie. And shout out once again to Lindsay Patterson for relaying this to get it on the timeline here. But here is John Hendricks, covers the Saints, keep hearing Bengals as the Saints opponents for the London game. So you may want to start getting your passports in order. You may want to get your plane flights in order. We'll see what happens. Obviously, that'll be announced sometime soon, but we'll see what happens. But keep that on the radar. And I know the Bengals went there in 2018 or 2019. I think it was 2019, maybe. That was a heck of a time, despite it being a pretty dismal season for the team. So maybe we'll see all of you out there, whether it's from this show or what have you. But keep that on your radar. We'll be hearing more about that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for submitting your questions. We'll have more coming at you. We're going to be bringing you prospect profiles and whatnot, not only on the Wednesday show, but you'll get those clips on the YouTube channel as well. So that's why you got to subscribe there. And of course, we bring you all kinds of different stuff. The big show with John and myself, happening headlines, more content creators. We've already got feelers out to a bunch of other great ones that'll be joining us as guest hosts. So we're looking forward to that. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. Go check out Ice's show. I know our boys Ace and Zim are going live later tonight as well. So go check out their show, and we will talk to you all soon. Take care.